Welcome to the What Matters podcast, wellspring of inspiration from the heartbeat of a regenerative economy. An economy that puts itself in service to life. What Matters is an emerging global initiative uniting impact creators from technologies, capital, and humanities to bridge dividing gaps and create an intentional human impact on the regenerative economy. At What Matters, we reclaim humanity as the driving force to make this impact happen. I'm Nicole Bastien, founder of What Matters and host for this podcast journey. We capture real-life conversations with those challenging the norm and where the audience can chime in at any time. I promise no scripts, no filters, just authentic experiences and raw insights from pioneers shaping a better world. If you want to share your perspective too, well then please join one of our next live conversations and visit us at humanitywhatmatters.com. And now, let's meet my guest. All right, so Marianne, let's just start, right? Let's rock and roll, I'd say. Let's rock and roll.
You decide that you are the tech master. You go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. Purpose is dead, long lives the purpose. Well, that's quite, it's quite actually a paradox. Purpose is something that is reflecting intention. Why are we actually in business? And it's something to be good, something sense-making. But over the last decades, it turned into a money-making scheme. So, and when we look at regenerative economy, the question is really, what does purpose actually serve? Why is it good or why is it not? Do we have to bring back meaning, or did we just lose meaning? Or what is it around with repurpose and purpose and everything? So, and I'm saying that on purpose, Marianne. You are a person like me too. We've been in economy for decades. You and I, we saw a lot of good things. We saw a lot of not so good things. You and I, we developed ideas how economy could change for the better. And that brought us together. You and I, we met in the sphere of regenerative economy. So it's really my pleasure digging in the ideas of repurpose purpose today. All right, so Marianne, when you think of purpose, so what's on your heart today? Thinking of purpose, what's on your heart today? What keeps you up at night?
That I failed. I remember we spoke about that, and I had that sort of. I've been trying to do this for the last 15 years, and I'll come back to a little more the details of that. But I just realized, maybe not even that long ago, that I just miserably failed. And I kind of didn't want to really realize that. But I had that funny thinking for a long time that I tried to sort of help build purpose-driven organizations. And I must have been very naive or very idealistic, but I just realized how much I have failed in that. If we look at, I entered the idea of purpose being something that accompanied by guiding principles and embedded in the DNA, and the workings of the organization could contribute to a better, more responsible and more sustainable business, and as well with thriving people who felt that their works were more meaningful because they were serving something bigger than them, and that bigger than them beyond profit. So I entered this whole space with the idea of purpose-driven businesses being about creating profitable solutions for problems of people and planet, and not profiting from creating problems for either. I mean, it's a little bit cumbersome definition, but I try to squeeze it all in there. So, I thought that, and I still think actually that we need a North Star to help us navigate these turbulent times, but the concept has been hitchhiked. It's been hitchhiked, as Nicole said, by consultants and advertisers who have packaged that in complex, long, siloed processes that actually end up only serving the only thing that is left, profit, and not serving the planet nor the people. So there's been a lot of purpose washing around, and that's what keeps me up at night. And obviously the question, can we repurpose purpose to serve a regenerative approach, to serve a regenerative economy, to serve regenerative businesses, to help us create conditions of health? And if so, how does that concept look like? Where is it born from? And how do we arrive at that?
What's wrong with purpose, actually? I mean, as you already said, it was kind of misused in the ways of a marketing thing, a buzzword.
Yeah, it became a new branding, right? Exactly.
Yes, like you name it. If it was an employer branding, if it was for like, okay, I want to make more revenue and I need a purpose because it's easier to sell, but it was kind of meaningless in the ways of you couldn't really sense a real life behind this idea of purpose. Did you perceive it the same way than I did, or so? How do you?
Oh yes, totally. I mean, that is why I'm kind of laughing, and I think, God, how naive I am, and or sort of or idealistic in terms of, I really did believe that one could use it to install more soul in organizations, because organizations are living systems. So why shouldn't they have sort of more soul, if you get me right? In terms of, a sense of the essence, a sense of being, a sense of values, a sense of principles that they kind of operate from. And I think that what you said is let me just, if I may, just sort of mention 3 patterns I have seen at work here that have been this sort of essential dynamics that have rendered purpose and many other, potentially transformative concepts meaningless. By being deconstructed, siloed, and reduced into sort of a mechanistic tool to serve, as you say, some kind of optimization, some kind of actually stabilizing status quo rather than transforming them. So I think one of these patterns have been obviously taking concepts out of their original context. ripping them of their depth and complexity. I think we all know mindfulness and the context in which mindfulness is originally born, and how much that has been taken out of context, put into yoga courses, bring your dog to work, have some more fruit and sit still while you're eating it. I mean, it's just also been really, I overdo it a bit now, but surely being used to actually more serve the paradigm of optimization rather than maybe really installing presence, mindfulness, what have you. And the second pattern is that it's obviously being totally commercialized and instrumentalized, making it a business and a means to an end. And we had that a little bit as well, that money is to be made of all these sort of trendy, transformative concepts coming up, whether it's like agility, mindfulness, lean, what have you. There are many sort of things that are also maybe lean not, but there are many things that are born out of different traditions that have been picked up and sort of packaged as consultancy products and sold as isolated items. Yeah. So again, taking them out of context, putting them into complex, long, bloated consulting processes where sometimes maybe the questions are quite simple and straightforward. And then again, being sort of hitchhiked into sort of employer brandings, employee satisfaction and performance culture and all that. And in a way, I actually also believe that installing purpose in these dimensions will actually benefit organizations. And I still believe that. But what you see is that there's hardly, it's been put in there, but it's of no consequence. Mm-hmm. Eventually, the company will always pick the profit, the performance over and above any sort of other thing that relates to the purpose. So if the purpose suddenly doesn't fit the business, they find a way of navigating around it. Mm-hmm. So it's just quite hypocritical. And the last pattern I've seen, again, is this ego-drivenness, that it's about egocentrism in service of self-optimization and self-serving. Again, like mindfulness, it's again been often used to optimize yourself or your team, so your team becomes more efficient. It's rarely been about systematically creating a more balanced and thriving organizations that is like a focus on balance and thriving people and so forth. So it's again being hitchhiked by this advantage of like, I win, I use it so I can win, but I do that because you lose. And then we probably a little bit back on this whole notion to open up again for the bigger topic of the overall paradigm we live in, that it's served like this modern economic system of capitalism so well because it feeds on, it has sort of enhanced this whole egocentrism, and that is obviously what our system or capitalist system as it's lived today is feeding on and sourcing from. Yeah, so it's always like the winning of the individual, the winning of the one company. It's very little about the bigger we and the larger purpose we serve. Yeah, and actually, so we have taken all these sort of bigger context, also the spiritual part, the mental sort of part of purpose out, and have reduced it to something online with a vision and mission, and put it in line with strategy to serve, well, the growth of the company. Mm-hmm. So that's my 3 big patterns, and I'll maybe stop there for a while.
Thank you so much. It was so profound. I took so many notes, and I will get back to that. But first, does purpose have to serve evolution? And in terms of organizations, what does that mean? Purpose and evolution of organizations. I don't know. Do you have any? Does it resonate? Do you have any idea and something coming up?
Well, I think. Yeah, I think one of the things that we when we started talking about this, I mean, the world really looked kind of different, and despite all sorts of systemic knowledge, I kind of also looked at the world slightly different. I thought that purpose could be some kind of, I don't know, a North Star, and a North Star doesn't move the whole time, does it? I mean, it's kind of very fixed. Yeah. And where I find that is probably also quite helpful and necessary. I also do think that organizations, because they are living systems, need to revisit their North Star once in a while. So I think it is an evolution, but it's not something you can change the whole time, but you should go with life. So if you, as an organization, find out that your purpose is serving, for instance, trying to solve these and these problems at this time, and you in 10 years down the road, you find out the world looks really different, or 5 years down the road, I think you should revisit your purpose. So I think it should be evolving and changing, but it should also be, why is it there, sort of has to have that North Star quality, if one can be both. So there's something, I think we need to have something to hold on to. At the same time, we have to evolve. And I think that's the paradox we all live with in life, isn't it? I mean, we believe in things until we don't believe in them anymore, or they change. So,
Sharon, please.
I would say that the purpose and what I'm learning, and over the last year, and in working, and I don't even know that that's the right word, connecting with a variety of people, right? And listening and seeing what's coming my way. And that I don't know if I have a purpose per se. I'm not going to reinvent my business the way it was for 20 years and be a consultant again. That's not it. I'm really finding at the moment that I'm just open to seeing what shows up in my life, and really listening to it. And I am not about, what I do know is that solving a problem as a purpose for me is not what I'm here for, although I spent many years trying to do that or participate in that. But I think that my openness kind of collapses when I start trying to solve something. I have wisdom to share across a broad spectrum of communities and people, and that's just from me. So I guess what I'm saying is I am at a point where I am owning the wisdom and trusting the wisdom I have, and then trusting that I am truly opening my listening to the people that I encounter. And what flows from that is what flows from that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's a connection and a flow from there. And it's from the wisdom that I know that I have, that we all have, but I am much more present to the wisdom that I have. So I guess that's what I have to say about purpose for me.
Well, I can totally follow Sharon. And I think perhaps ideally, if we could all sit like that, the world maybe would be a nicer place, if I understand you right. I think where I'm coming from, and which is not a contradiction at all to that, is that I'm still thinking on like how can we build this bridge from where we are now in a world into sort of a world that's built on regenerative principles and working along very, very different lines. We need to build this bridge. And that's why I think it can be useful to take some of those concepts that are actually deeply rooted in our wisdom's traditions and help us cross that bridge, and help also, rather than trying to reinvent everything at once, because it's never going to work, to help like maybe, and even if it's sort of damaged, and that's why I'm asking all of you about, can we repurpose purpose to do that job? Can we find back to the roots of this concept? Can it help organizations align around a shared idea and a set of principles about how to be in the world? And now also in a holistic perspective of how to be in the world. So serving economic and social challenge, combating social and economic challenges being different than they are today. And I think that purpose can do that in a way. It can help in that transformation, which is what I'm focusing on at the moment, because that's what we need. Well, I think what we need to help.
Exactly. So that's exactly it. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for playing this in my direction, kind of. So like really right in my hands. It was something I was like highlighting here where I was taking notes. I mean, we are not in the new, let's say, in the regenerative economy yet. You know, there are more and more enterprises, more and more organizations, more and more municipals changing and moving toward to be more regenerative. I don't want to say to be regenerative, because for me it's always a state of evolution, always a state of consciousness, always something that we could do a little better every day. So we are more regenerative somehow, and more on the path than others. However, there are many that are still rooted, they still have their feet in, let's say, an old understanding of economy. So now you and I are sitting here, and all the other people in our realm here today listening, we are here, we want to transform to a more regenerative economy, an economy that benefits the people and the planet, and of course is also creating prosperity, you know, to the organizations and to all of us.
Sure.
So the question is, under the lens of purpose, and I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, and all others here with us too, if you want to join the conversation. What do you think has to be stable and remain, and what has to change or to alterate that we could transform or could use purpose as a transformative element toward a regenerative economy? I know it's quite a brainer I'm asking here.
No, it's okay. Well, let's say, I think I need to start where I would start exploring that. I don't have the final answer, because I I've actually been so slightly traumatized by my own realization that it's dead that I haven't really dared to dive into it yet. But I think actually I turned it upside down. You know, I mean, typically you say when you do the purpose process, you start with the why. You look at the world and you look at yourself and you say, what does the world need? More plastic, whoa, or more trade or something. And then the purpose is sort of, that's how it's been often generalized, made something sort of in a combination of what can we do and what does the world need. And I think we should turn it around and say, what does the world need, and how do we, not only what does the world need, but how can we help solve problems of people or planet? How can we do that actually contribute to something that is social and ecological development in the sense of regenerative principles? Now, you could take the SDGs as a lens too, but I would start with the what. What is really what are real problems to solve? And in that process, I mean, probably lots of companies, if we're sitting like this, would cease to exist because they're not solving any real problems. They're just creating some. So that would be one way of looking at, so what are we trying to solve? And is it solving anything useful, positive, helpful, according to certain principles, whether they be regenerative, cyclical, whatever. And then I would look at the how. How are we actually operating? So before we get too excited about the what, it's like, how can we do it in a way that is responsible and regenerative? And I think actually by that conversation, we would automatically, suddenly, the what, I mean, in that way, the why would fall in our lap. Do you know what I mean? So we start, rather than Simon Sinek, who starts in the middle, I would start from the outside. And I would say, like, you know, what are we actually doing? And how are we doing this? And out of that, I think the why would actually just come. It would just really be the essence of who we are and what we believe in. And that could be something that defines our DNA. But I wouldn't start with that identity question. I would start much more pragmatic now and saying, okay, if we're good at I don't know, if we have certain skills as engineers, what problems can we solve and how can we do it? And then the why would come across.
I really love that. No, I love that a lot. I'm reflecting on...
Is it clear?
Yeah, I mean, to me it is. And I really love your perspective. When I look at a human, the development, or not development, the evolution of a human being, of an individual, the identity comes isn't there right away. It's the process over our entire lifespan. And if something changes, then our identity changes. You know, we're changing jobs, we're changing cities, we're changing countries, and then all social circles, they change, and we have revelations, we have epiphanies, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, that's the way I am. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I do think it's coming actually quite late, and I can say also from my, I don't know, more than a decade work as a managing director for a company and being responsible for a company, this why question is pretty hard to answer. And then you have something that went through corporate communication, and it was like cut down to this 1 millimeter, mowed down like this 1 milli, I don't know, like this inch, no, less than an inch. I don't know what that is. The remainder is just a little bit. That is kind of, okay, this is what we can communicate, but it's not really tangible for other people. And then it's really hard even for the people in the company to work according to that. So I really, really love what you're saying coming from the outside. And then also another thought I had, when you put it under the lens of, okay, from a regenerative perspective, we are here to put the principles of life to work in our organizations.
Yes.
And that makes purpose pretty simple. It means we are serving life. We are in service to life. That's the purpose. Yeah. And I do like what you said also, what is it actually we're trying to solve here? And I see it in terms of green technology, green tech, and also renewable energies. it's a lot of new problems we are creating when we're applying those things in reality. Like setting up the solar power of things, you have to really move a lot of soil to make this happen. And I don't know if that is a good thing for biodiversity. I don't know if that is a good thing for cultural inheritance and everything. So Vishva is there and wants to talk and join the conversation. And here you go, Vishva. Love to hear your voice.
Bringing in Simon Sinek into the picture, he talks about communication, about how do you communicate your purpose and how does that change your demographic and the kind of people that you attract towards you. But even then, you communicate from your why to your how to your what. It sounds amazing and it feels right and it seems logical. But then how do you do it really in real life? It just feels so obvious because these are like ceremonies, right? Having these things. These are such abstract things to connect with them so deep that you can embody them or they become part of you or you're part of your communication. So where is this thing between having a purpose and using a purpose is where I'm asking.
I personally never liked Simon Sinek's model. I thought it's too simplistic. I could never understand it. I could never work with it because I always when I try to work, my process is actually not very linear. I used to tell people it was linear because then they felt comfortable, but it wasn't. I always looked at those 3 dimensions, if you want to, the why, what, and how at the same time. And then I work with it at the same time to see when is it starting having this balance? When does it start making sense? And I only think that works when you do it like that. I think you are very right that if you fall into a trap, if you think it's like a linear process and that the communication works like that as well. So much for that. So I mean, in the end of the day, all these processes, all these models are I find rendered pretty meaningless if you put on a pair of glasses that are trying to look at the world holistically and are trying to avoid too many reductionist reasonings. You have to get rid of those models and try to navigate in these dimensions at the same time, I find.
Sharon, please.
I agree with when I hear the word model, I start to suspect what's happening with what people are saying they want. And I think that for me, it's about the relationships that I cultivate in my community. I have a special skill set in an area of housing. And so, that's an identifier for my experience and some knowledge base. But I am really about coming from what is home in a community. You know, when we say homeless or we say housing, it conjures up a building. But what is the home? The home that gets created by the people who live in whatever building it is. And that is the community culture that evolves from all of that we don't often, at least I, in the past, have not paid attention to. And it is a culmination for me of, back to the listening part that I was talking about, is that we're all engaged in all these systems. They're just there, and we engage them, whether we consciously do it or not, because it's the infrastructure of our communities. But how can I listen and hold space for, I'm not solving a problem of homelessness with housing, because that isn't even the right thing of what's happening, that there are people. What is the people quotient, and how can I be in relationship with others who care about the people and with those people as well? and look at a new way and a money flow that will actually evolve and address and connect everybody. Because what I see in my world right now is such disconnection that is it and so for me it's holding a space and a looking and a listening for regenerative living principles on the human sector, on the environmental sector, and the most difficult sector is the economic sector. And I've done this for years with nonprofits who are all focused on the social and all of that, and they don't want to think about the numbers. So the investors and the funders all direct them by, I want to see something like this, so give me an application and you'll get funded. It's driving, the money is driving and stymieing us from actually stepping back and being in relationship with each other and organizations to connect, because we have to share. We can't solve this. And I know about housing, and you know about soil diversity, and you know about space. All of that is relevant to me. And in my community, I have to see the whole and then bring whatever knowledge and wisdom I have from that whole place. But I can't do it alone. So whatever my purpose is, I want to find others a holistic way to connect in my community and without judgment. And those are people that in fact may not think I ever want to connect with, but one has to be open to that because it's part of a living system in any community or any organization. So that's my perspective on all of that, and my learning. I think I'd like to say it's a perspective, but it's a learning process for me.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you so much. First, I want to hear what Caroline has to say. Thanks again, Sharon.
Oh, I hope you took a note, Nicole, about, the capital part of what Sharon was sharing, because that's what, lit me up. Until we start to consider, I think, all the different forms of capital that are available when we put our focus on life-centeredness. We are not only talking about money, but we're also talking about, nature and humans and society and our ingenuity, and in addition to our financial capabilities and the way by which we do things. So I think it behooves us to make sure that when we're talking about purpose, we include financial, but we also expand the definition of our impact from an economic perspective beyond, just the bottom line that drives everything that, we've all experienced in the large organizations.
Let's say this, or let's address this question to you, Marianne, but actually to all of us here. So how should purpose then be designed to be the heart of the community when we also consider the different forms of capital, like what Caroline just said, money, nature, human society, you name it. And I want to take that, what Sharon said, like being the heart of the community. So Marianne, I don't know, what's coming to your mind, what's coming to your heart when you hear that? What can you say from your lived experience? How should purpose then be designed to address that?
Well, I mean, it's what Caroline says. That's exactly what happened. Purpose became a servant, a prophet, nothing else. Mm-hmm. Although everybody spoke about it as if it was something beyond profit. Was just they just designed some clever words around it, and it was difficult to measure, so you can get away with everything. So it's if we want to have a meaningful, want to repurpose purpose, and give it meaning, and actually give it that power to unite people around something, it obviously needs to address all these other capitals, if you want to, of different sorts of values. But it also needs to sort of be, it needs to be looked at in context of, let's say, people, of place, now we have prosperity, but in a wide range, but also of participation. If I just stick to some words with P. So when we develop the purpose, it is not only about the what and the how, but also how it relates into and builds, let's say, how it integrates these different parts. So, I mean, it makes no sense, I think, to avoid falling into the same old trap. We will need to look at purpose with those different aspects that we find from a regenerative perspective. And then I think it can be very powerful, because purpose is not about me. It's about how I also relate to the world as an individual, but also how, if you put it on organizational level, it's like how an organization is in the world. What is their relationship to the world? So it is essentially that whole point. So I think if we can manage to keep that level in the way we think about purpose and how we develop it and implement it, I think it can be really helpful to unite people around a cause, around a process they're involving in, around a community, and it can help also distinguish communities from each other. Because not everybody wants to be part of everything. And I think a clear purpose distinguishes you. And that is why I think originally it was also, that's why it's been hitchhiked so lovely by branding people, to be used as a point of differentiation. But it obviously goes a lot deeper, but it still has that power.
Mm-hmm. I find this a very powerful statement from you, us in the relation to the world, which is really a strong statement. Means it says a lot about where I'm standing. It also says a lot about my self-perception. So mine/organizational self-perception. Also puts boundaries. That's me, that's us, and that's the others. So is like setting boundaries in terms of a system, where we see the boundaries, but it's not necessarily, because we're interconnected anyway. And it also
gives
us,
of course.
Yeah, right. I mean, but you know what I mean, right? I mean, at some point you have to say
exactly.
your core family and your further family, kind of in this way. So, a second cousin or third grade cousin or something. Yeah. So I think that's what it is. And I was reflecting on this idea of identity again. And as you know, I wrote an article about purposelessness and the fear of extinction, and playing a bit with purpose and purposelessness. And not having purpose means you're actually purposelessness, which means you're doomed to extinct. and that is a fear. And a lot of organizations that I saw out there, they are acting out of fear. Like, oh my goodness, we do not know what we're here actually to do. So we just have to brand ourselves, because otherwise we're just vanish from the tapestry of economy. And I mean, that's what we explored like the last 45 minutes here, that this is really something. And I'm really like pondering, what would it be then in terms of regenerative economy? I mean, yes, we said in service to life, and then shareholders say, well, that's not enough to us. We want to have it more explicit, because you're like a regenerative technology organization or you're a housing company, so we want to break it down a little more. I don't know, I just stop here, and we have Sharon and Vishwa want to say something, but I want to hear your ideas first, Marianne.
I think if you bother, did you hear that? Bother to have a purpose. Yeah. It should be specific enough for you. Otherwise, don't have one. And I kept telling that often to my clients. It's like, well, I almost felt like I put it in this round and say, you are in, I mean, nobody needs your stuff. So I recommend you not to have one purpose, because it's just not really credible. But to come back to let's imagine a more regenerative business. I find it should be unique. And I think it can be unique, because not everybody is doing, I don't know, I say, is creating food stuff. Not every company is creating solar panels. Not every company is creating, I don't know, clothes or something. And I think we will still have many that do about the same thing, but they all do it in a specific way, perhaps.
Right.
And that's where the purpose comes in. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And there is a soul that is unique, because all these living systems, all these organizations are obviously unique living systems. They're singular. Otherwise, we just are like a Soviet Union planned economy. And I don't think we want to do that. So I think, I mean, whatever you're going to do, you're still going to be unique in the combination of skills, of capabilities, of technology, of the people who work there. And they should have their own unique narrative and story. And I find that's where the purpose comes in. Because then it's like a story of meaning for them. Because they do things in a certain way. Yeah, and that has a specific cycle and logic, and it emerges in a specific way, like every organization do, despite all the efforts from consultants of this world to streamline them all. They're still super different. They might have the same IT system, but funny enough, they still don't work the same way as the other company. So that's why it's so absurd with best cases and benchmarks and na, yeah? So I think, and that's why the purpose can be sort of a proud sign of, that's where we're different, you know? We serve this, we try to solve this with our unique capabilities in this particular manner. And, you know, believing in these things, and that is already your identity, and you have your purpose.
And what I witnessed over the last decades, that organizations are more looking like, okay, I mean, again, we explored that already here in our conversation. I need to tell the world why I am here, because otherwise I'm meaningless. But I am focusing on my personas and target groups, and I do not really speak from my heart, from my organizational or from my entrepreneurial heart, why I'm here and what I'm trying to solve. So it means at some point as an entrepreneur, I saw a gap in the world. You know, I saw something, and I know that I can weave this gap with all my talents, with all my ideas, with my genius, with my power. And that's how I create impact in weaving this gap. And that's coming from a total different source than telling the world, well, I saw that our target group, which is, I don't know what, and then we could do this, and this is our purpose. I mean, that's something total different, and it's really a very powerful state from acting when you really do it from within. So I want to hear Sharon, please go ahead.
Well, I love what you guys are pointing to, and from I'm going to speak from a financial perspective about business and nonprofits, for-profits. It really doesn't matter. Everybody needs money. Everybody runs on money, but it is about being your unique purpose and your unique culture and your unique way that you address whatever you come together to do. Let's say whatever that is, but that we really need to actually have money flow, not toward an outcome specific, but more toward an evolution of possibility and a partnership with our investors that allows the time for what we are trying, or what we are intending to create, has time to evolve and shift and grow and learn. And there will be returns for the investor, but to forecast those as specific, and this happens in both sectors, nonprofit, for-profit, and the government does this as well. All the systems have to be specific data point, and I'm for opening up the data points and extending the time that people have to be in relationship with their money sources and the kinds of data and sharing that can go on out in the world, that will help folks reimagine the way they can work together, both from a money source as well as from the actual doing of our community initiatives.
Thank you, Sharon. So Caroline wants to come on stage too. I'll put you on stage, and then let's sum up for today. Caroline.
Oh, thank you. I have a practical way to look at purpose in the context of just going day to day and making decisions. And it's really focusing on what I love to do, what lights me on fire. And one really easy tool, and it's not like a complex philosophy like Ikigai, which it's about strengths. It's about shifting the mentality from like the things we have to improve to the things that we're really innately really good at. And there are so many ways to discover and to turn that into an experiment and to discover, like the easiest way is to just spend a day in love. Just look around, see what really lights you on fire. And that's a great place to start. Yeah.
Marianne, what sticks with you today from our conversation? What is it? What is the one thing that resonated with you?
Well, that not only purpose, but most concepts we have within the business world really does need reinvention. And but they obviously need that in the bigger part of this whole rethinking our economy and rethinking the logic of that. I think that I took that away, that it's all brittle in the edges, and that what we have started now with purpose, we could go a whole way around, and then there are all these topics I have no idea about because I'm not clued up about them. But we should really, what is, when you look at strategy or vision and missions or values or whatever all our companies have to sort of navigate from, to sort of look at that inner compass and understand how can we help transform that inner compass towards a more regenerative one. Knowing that the system outside is obviously paramount. I realize that. I'm not naive anymore, but still there can be something that can come from inside. And if enough organizations come with the impetus from inside to change, the outside will eventually also change.
Exactly.
I need to believe that.
Yeah. No, I am. But you have a second one on your side. I'm your sidekick in that, really. I believe that too.
I know. Thank you.
It has to come from the inside, and then the outside will follow. That's the point. It's never the way around. It's never the other way around. It's always from the inside to the outside. I see that too.
Yeah. And by the way, just to quickly, one other thing I also picked up on, which I kind of really resonates with me, with some of you said, I think also, using and thinking about how we can use our, indigenous wisdom, our wisdom traditions from all the cultures we come from, because we also have some in the Nordics. How can we use some of that to sort of reconnect with some of those existential things that are important to people, but also important to how we are in the world. And I think there's so much richness to take from, and then using those, misused business concepts, but that are as such, there's nothing wrong with it, but just kind of like rethink them, and repurpose them and relive them with those deep knowledge that we all carry in us inside, if we want to dig deep enough.
I can only say thank you so much for going on this journey with me, for dancing with me and dancing with all of us through your ideas and perspective on repurpose purpose. And what I wrote down and what resonated with me the most today was us in relation to the world. I loved it so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for tuning into What Matters podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you want to stay connected and take an active part, please follow me and What Matters Initiative on LinkedIn for invitations. And we'd appreciate your support by liking, sharing, and visiting us at humanitywhatmatters.com. So stay tuned and be human. Bye-bye.